No, I mean, look, I've become way more libertarian since I've worked on the Twitter files. I get it.
Really?
And I get the paranoia.
But this is a really recent shift in your philosophy.
It is. I mean, I've always been I came from the more of the socialist left than the anarchist left. So I've always thought that there was a good role for government. I still do. But no, for sure, I've become much more paranoid. I mean, when you spend all this time in these documents and you see the way these guys kind of sneak around and they're trying to do all this stuff behind the scenes, it's really, it is like Elon thought it was funny. It was like, yeah, I mean, it is like these conspiracies are real. You know, they weren't. I wish they had. You know, I wish they were fake.
Yeah, he sent me a text message. It turned out they're all true. LOL.
He says that so casually.
Yeah. Well, I think, because of who he is and the way his mind works, I don't think he necessarily gets upset like the way other people do.
Yeah.
I think he just goes, "Oh, that's what it is."
I've never seen anybody. I mean, what's amazing is I've never seen anybody be so impulsive and so successful. Because I think we associate impulsivity with, failure, but he is somebody that I think it's like, I think impulsivity is to Elon in the way that kind of being a dick was successful for Steve Jobs. You know, Walter Isaacson, who's writing a book about Elon right now, by the way, but Walter Isaacson in his biography of Steve Jobs, he was like, look, Steve Jobs was just too much of an asshole. He didn't need to be that much of an asshole, but what it did is it forced out incompetent people. It was a way that he got rid of incompetent people.
Yeah,
I think Elon's impulsivity, the way that he moves quickly, like he overpaid for Twitter on the one hand. On the other hand, he owns Twitter. Right. Because you kind of go, well, the market value is 1/3 of the 44 billion. It's like, yeah. On the other hand, like Twitter is now like a pretty open platform. Again, like we need transparency and we should all be vigilant and whatever. But I mean, wow, like
big difference.
How much is that worth?
When he had the vote online, like anyone who hasn't violated the law, should I let them back in? And most people or enough people were like, yes. He's like, okay, the people have spoken. And so he lets in all these fucking psychos. Like really nutty people.
Well, yeah, and there were mistakes too, right? Remember, he also was like they would give out the verification to these fake brands, and Eli Lilly was like, "There's a fake Eli Lilly account." Oh,
really?
And it goes,
I didn't know
they go starting Monday, we will be giving out all insulin for free or something like that, and the Eli Lilly stock dropped. So I mean that happened, and Elon was like, "Okay, we're gonna change that a little bit." That. So I mean so he's that the whole, I mean, when people, this cliche in Silicon Valley, the whole, move fast and break things, but that's what he's doing. And then he moves fast, he breaks something, but then he also fixes quickly. Yeah. So, but I mean, you have to remember that they had 7,500 employees. I think they're down to somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 employees at this point.
Well, it's been pretty well established that most tech companies severely overhired. And, we've played multiple times this video of this woman who made a TikTok, a day in the life of Twitter, working at Twitter. I'm sure you've seen it.
Who wasn't doing anything, right?
She wasn't doing jack shit. She was playing foosball, and then I had a glass of wine, and on the pad, and look at the view, so blessed. I was like, this is crazy. I'd fire you immediately if you put that video out. The fact that she put that video out and someone's paying her a salary to essentially like hang out and eat all this delicious food, and he's like, fuck you, get takeout, like go to work. Like here's a bed, sleep here.
I mean, the idea that there's 1,000 people at a company that is a $44 billion company is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's obviously he's a genius. And he's the richest guy in the world. And he's going to become even richer with SpaceX. And, yeah, I mean, it took somebody that powerful to do this.
Somebody that powerful that's also addicted to Twitter.
Yeah.
That's where it gets fun.
Yeah.
Because he was on it every day.
Yep.
And something about his emotional makeup doesn't I don't know how upset he gets when people come after him.
Well, so this is a funny story. So we were there in December, we come in and we're like doing the Twitter files, and then he ends up deplatforming people that he said had doxed his private plane.
Yes.
And there was a big controversy about it. Did they really do it? Whatever. I didn't follow it super closely, but Barry Weiss, who was there and who had brought me in, she criticized Elon in a tweet and was like, look, it was arbitrary before. Is it arbitrary now? Mm-hmm. Elon responds and is like, "You're just trying to suck up to the woke mob. You know, you're trying to have it both ways." It was a mess, right? We were all kind of like, you know, it was like, "Oh my God, they're all fighting." And
Right. My parents are fighting.
It's like, "Oh, my dad and mom are fighting again." You know, and we're like, "Oh," and I kind of retweet her, but it was like, okay, I retweet her, but we'd still like to have access to the Twitter files. You know, we did. There's this famous clip that went viral when Matt Taibbi and I testified in front of Congress, where this member of Congress goes, you know, "How'd you get in?" You know, they were trying to make it like a scandal that somehow we were reporting on the Twitter files, and I was like, "I was brought in by Barry Weiss," and then she was like, "Oh, so it's like a threesome," and the whole room erupts into laughter, and I was like, "Well, there was actually a lot more people involved than that," and everybody laughed, and Elon just loved it because, you know, he's just like us, we're all just perverted Gen Xers at the end of the day, you know, and so he loved it. And was very happy and was like, all is forgiven with Barry if she wants to come back in, you know, come back in. Because I think he's also somebody that, what I like about Elon, and I don't know him very well at all, is that he reminds me a lot more of like, because I spent a fair amount of time in Brazil, and Brazilians are just very emotional, and they're just like, the men will cry and they'll scream at each other and then they'll make up, and it's just a very expressive culture. And Elon's just, just expresses his feelings about things. When he's mad at somebody, he'll tell you, but then he also has shown this capacity to forgive, and so I think there's something there, you know, in terms of, you know, I mean, he really, I think he told us, he's like, "I didn't buy Twitter just to re-platform Babylon Bee," and we were like, I was like, but it was part of it, right? Like you know,